When did you decide enough was enough? I was 28 years old, sitting at my family's Thanksgiving table, watching my older brother Jake tear me apart piece by piece, like he had done every holiday for the past 15 years. My mom was nervously laughing at his jokes about my weight. My dad was pretending not to hear anything. My cousin Emma was staring at her plate, trying not to make eye contact. Jake had this routine down to a science. First, he'd comment on my apartment. Still living in that shoebox downtown, Mel? When are you going to get a real place like normal adults? Then he'd move on to my job. How's the whole graphic design thing going? Still making those little logos for nobody? The whole table would get awkward, but nobody ever said anything. This particular Thanksgiving, he was on fire. I'd walked in wearing a new dress I actually felt good in, and within 10 minutes, he'd already made 3 comments about how I was trying too hard and asking if I was still doing that weird diet thing. But the moment that broke me happened right as we were sitting down to eat. My aunt had made this amazing spread. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, the works. Jake grabbed the basket of dinner rolls from across the table, held one up, and looked straight at me with this smug grin. Careful, Mel. Carbs like these are probably why you're still single. The entire table went dead silent. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. My mom let out this nervous little laugh and said, "Oh, Jake, stop." But she was smiling when she said it, like it was funny. I felt that familiar burning in my chest. The same feeling I'd had at every family gathering since I was 13. The urge to shrink into myself, to laugh it off, to change the subject, to be the good sport who doesn't make waves. But this time, I looked around the table and really saw everyone's faces. Emma was studying her napkin, like it had the answers to life written on it. My dad was suddenly very interested in carving the turkey. My mom was doing that thing where she pretends everything's normal, while her eyes screamed for me to just let it go. They were all waiting for me to take it, to swallow the humiliation, and move on, so dinner could continue. Something inside me just snapped. I put my fork down very slowly and looked directly at Jake. Do you ever get tired of being cruel? Or is this literally the only way you know how to feel important? His smirk faltered for just a second, but he recovered quickly. What? I'm just joking around. God, you're so sensitive. Every single year, I continued, my voice getting stronger, you pick me apart. My body, my life, my choices. What's it like? Being so miserable that you can't eat dinner without tearing someone else down? My mom started to jump in. Melissa, honey, he didn't mean. I turned to her, and I could feel my face getting hot. And you? Why do you let him talk to me like this? You laugh like it's funny, but it's not funny. I'm done letting everyone at this table treat me like your personal punching bag. The silence was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Jake tried to laugh it off. Jesus, Mel, it's just a joke. Learn to take one. No, I said, standing up. I'm done learning to take it. I'm done pretending this is normal family teasing. I'm done coming to these dinners and leaving feeling like garbage about myself. I grabbed my purse and my coat. My hands were shaking, but I felt this weird rush of adrenaline, like I just jumped off a cliff. Enjoy your dinner, I said, heading for the door. I'm done. I walked out of that house shaking like a leaf, but for the first time in years, I felt like I could actually breathe. I was 28, sitting at my family's Thanksgiving table, watching my older brother Jake tear me apart like clockwork, just like he had done every holiday for the last 15 years. My mom nervously laughed at his cruel jokes about my weight. My dad pretended not to hear. My cousin Emma stared at her plate, avoiding eye contact. Jake had his routine down perfectly. First, my apartment. Still living in that shoebox downtown, Mel? When will you get a real place like normal? Adults? Then my job. How's that graphic design gig? Still making those little logos for nobody? The whole table fell awkwardly silent, but no one stood up for me. That Thanksgiving, he was relentless. I'd walked in wearing a new dress I actually liked. Within 10 minutes, he'd made multiple snide comments about me trying too hard, asking if I was still on that weird diet. But the moment that broke me happened just as we sat down to eat. My aunt had prepared a delicious spread. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, the works. Jake grabbed the dinner rolls basket, held up a roll, and looked right at me with a smug grin. Careful, Mel. Carbs like those are probably why you're still single. The room fell dead silent. My fork paused mid-air. Mom let out a nervous laugh. Oh, Jake, stop. But her smile didn't reach her eyes. It felt like she was laughing at a joke only she found funny. I felt that familiar burning inside, the urge to shrink, laugh it off, change the subject, be the good sport who never caused trouble. But this time, I really looked around the table. Emma studied her napkin as if it held the answers to life. Dad suddenly focused on carving the turkey. Mom's eyes screamed for me to let it go. They were all waiting for me to swallow. The humiliation so dinner could continue. Something inside me snapped. I lowered my fork slowly and looked Jake straight in the eye. Do you ever get tired of being cruel? Or is this literally the only way you know how to feel important? His smirk flickered, but he recovered instantly. What? I'm joking. God, you're so sensitive. I took a deep breath, voice growing. Stronger. Every single year you do this. You pick me apart. My body, my life, my choices. What's it like being so miserable that you have to tear someone else down just to eat dinner? Mom tried to interrupt. Melissa, honey, he didn't. I turned to her, face burning. And you? Why do you let him talk to me like this? You laugh like it's funny, but it's not. I'm done being your family's punching bag. The silence thickened, sharp and heavy. Jake smirked. Jesus, Mel, it's just a joke. Learn to take one. No, I said, standing. I'm done taking it. Done pretending this is normal teasing. Done coming to these dinners feeling like garbage. I grabbed my purse and coat, hands trembling, but adrenaline surged like I'd jumped off a cliff. Enjoy your dinner, I said, heading for the door. I'm done. I walked out, trembling like a leaf. But for the first time in years, I could breathe again. Story. At a family dinner, my millionaire grandfather hugged me and said, Grandson, hope you're enjoying your $7,000 a month allowance. I was shocked and replied, I'm working 3 jobs and never saw a single cent. When I revealed the statements, every transfer redirected to my sister since 2019. The room went still, but what the bank called me about at 9:14 p.m. changed everything. My name is Owen. I'm 30, oldest kid. I work 3 jobs, mornings loading trucks at a warehouse, afternoons fixing office chairs and thermostats for a property manager, nights doing food delivery because rent is allergic to single incomes. I live in a studio above a nail salon next to a bus stop that size all night. I keep a tool bag in my trunk and a spreadsheet in my phone called Breathing. It has 4 tabs: rent, food, gas, surprise. Every month, surprise wins. My sister Sabrina is 27 and the favored child, the way certain plants get the good window. She's building a brand. Mom says her brand is pastel blazers and unboxing videos. She speaks in affirmations. If she's late on a bill, it's the universe's timing. If I'm late, it's because I'm too rigid to ask for help. Granddad is Arthur King. Yes, like the joke. And he actually has money. He started with one hardware store and ended up with a little empire of rentals and storage units. He wears old boots and a watch he could sell for a car. Holidays at his place were a lesson in contradictions. Paper plates, crystal glasses. Last Friday, we had family dinner at his house. Long table, roast chicken, green beans with too much, butter. The cousins were there. The cousins' kids were there. I came straight from the warehouse and had grease under my nails no matter how hard I scrubbed. Granddad hugged me at the door and said loud enough for the room, Grandson, hope you're enjoying your $7,000 a month allowance. My brain tripped. My what? Your allowance? He repeated, like we were talking about weather. Started it in 2019 for you and Sabrina. $7,000 each monthly to give you a runway. I stood there, holding a casserole dish I couldn't afford to make and forgot how hands work. I laughed because my face didn't know what else to do. I'm working 3 jobs, I said. I've never seen a single cent. Someone dropped a fork. The clink made my ears ring. Mom turned from the stove, frowning at me like I'd broken the script. "Don't start," she said. "Your grandfather is trying to have a nice evening." Sabrina made a cooing noise and touched Granddad's sleeve. "He knows how Owen is," she said softly, like a nurse. "He doesn't like taking help." "I love taking help," I said. "Too fast. I just never met it." Granddad's eyebrows slowly met in the middle. "What do you mean you never met it?" I pulled out my phone. My banking app history is a graveyard of small amounts. I opened the email from his foundation I'd finally gotten access to last month after I dug through 3 old inboxes. I scrolled to disbursements. I passed the phone to him. Every line item monthly support recipient. Oh, king. Every detail routing updated per coordinator. Beneath that, a masked account ending in 4 digits I recognized because I've Zelled that number 50 times over the years. Sabrina's. I watched Granddad's face read. He is not a fast reader. He's a thorough one. He looked up at me. "Is this a joke?" "No," I said. "I've been paying for my tires with store-brand cereal. If this is a joke, it's very immersive." He put the phone down like it was hot. The table quieted the way a room does when a teacher walks in unexpectedly. Mom reached for the phone, and I didn't hand it to her. Sabrina smoothed her hair and said lightly, "I thought we weren't doing money talk tonight." "I thought we weren't doing rerouting," I said. My voice surprised me. It was calm. Granddad stood. "Who changed the routing?" Mom said, "Arthur, sit down." "We're not." "Sabrina," he said, not loud, but the word landed like a weight. She held her palms up. "Okay, can everyone take a breath?" This was a misunderstanding. The coordinator said it was easier if the household had one landing place. "What household?" I asked. "Family," she said, as if that one word was a receipt. Granddad looked at me. "When did you find this out?" 30 seconds ago, I said, then corrected myself because honesty is a stubborn habit. I suspected a month ago. I asked for the statements. Today they came. The room had that frozen braced feeling right before a storm hits. Little cousin Chloe whispered, "What's allowance?" And her dad shushed her. Someone turned the TV on mute, as if pictures of a baseball game would make it all go away. Dinner tried to restart. It didn't. I ate 2 green beans because my body was still pretending to be polite. Every bite tasted like paper. At 9:14 p.m., my phone buzzed with a number. That had the bank's area code. I almost let it go because I didn't want more noise. I picked up. "Mr. King," a voice said, "this is Lydia from Franklin Trust. We're calling to verify a beneficiary change and an outbound wire request on your family account. It's marked urgent. Do you authorize?" "Stop," I said, staring across the table at my sister, who was pretending to cut a dessert that didn't need cutting. "Tell me the name on the request." She told me it wasn't mine. Whatever was about to happen wasn't going to be quiet anymore. This didn't start with a foundation or a number with a lot of zeros. It started with "for now." When I was 12, Sabrina stole change from my desk to buy lip gloss. Mom said she's learning. When I told Mom I wanted it back, she handed me a lecture about sharing. At 16, I got a beat-up Honda by working weekends at Granddad's storage lot. I changed my own oil and kept receipts in a shoebox because I liked the feeling of proof. Sabrina got Mom's old SUV for her 17th because girls need safety. When she hit a pole 2 months later, Mom said, "It happens." When I scratched my bumper, Mom said, "You're reckless." College wasn't in the cards. I did a semester at community college, and then real life called. I drove forklifts and learned the weight of a pallet by how my back complained. Sabrina tried 3 majors, then a year off to discover herself. Then content, which is a job and not a job, depending on whether you're related to her. Money in our house was a weather pattern. When Sabrina had a need, clouds parted. When I had one, I was told to carry an umbrella. I remember the night in 2019 when Granddad took us to dinner and said he was starting allowances. A runway, he called it. So you don't break your backs on the first rungs like I did. He looked proud, telling us. Mom looked proud, listening. Sabrina cried and posted a photo that said, "Gratitude." I went home and updated my breathing spreadsheet with a line I titled, "If this is real." I didn't put a number in because it felt like hoping out loud. The first month I didn't see anything. I told myself there was a delay. The second month, nothing. The third, nothing. I texted Mom, "Hey, did Granddad?" She responded with, "Don't bother him. He's busy." Also, Sabrina is swamped. Can you help her move boxes? I moved the boxes. The foundation sent quarterly emails about impact reports. I never got them because the coordinator had a different email on file for me, an old college one I hadn't used, since the password died. Sabrina told me, "I'll forward the important stuff." Nothing important ever made it to me. Meanwhile, my life was math. Groceries after 9 because the store marks down meat. Oil changes in my friend's driveway. Shoes when the Saul said hello. I took a second job because Surprise kept winning. Then a third because gas started acting like a subscription service. I was not ashamed. I was tired like a job. Sabrina called me hustle culture like it was a slur. She'd wave a hand and say you could scale if you stopped thinking small. Then she'd ask if I could front the security deposit for her new place because the Airbnb collab fell through. And Mom would say, "Owen, be generous. Your sister is building something that helps all of us." I helped. I bought Aunt Diane's prescription when her card failed. I Venmo'd Mom for bridge groceries. I Zelled Sabrina just until Friday. Like Friday was a person we were all going to meet one day. I told myself this was community. Then I went back to the warehouse and stacked boxes that didn't care about my narrative. The first real clue about the foundation arrived in April when a letter with my name on it came to my address from Franklin Trust Annual Beneficiary Certification. It said, "Please confirm your contact information for your monthly distribution." My distribution. I called the number. A polite person said, "We show you as active since January 2019. I laughed and said, "Cool. Where is it?" She said, "It appears the routing was updated by your family coordinator, Mrs. King." That's Mom. To a household account. My stomach dropped, so suddenly I had to sit down. I thanked the stranger and called Mom. "Hey," I said, "we need to talk about something logistical." "I'm at Pilates," she said, as if that were an answer. "You rerouted my allowance," I said. She sighed. "Such an ugly word." "Owen, you didn't need it. You said you were fine." I put it where it could do the most good. The most good for who? For the family. Sabrina was launching. "You know, you're stable, and your grandfather said it was for you and your sister. That and matters. It matters that I never agreed. I said it matters that you never told me. You and your little contracts," she said. "You've always been so rigid." I hung up before I said something I couldn't reel back from. I called the foundation again and asked them to put my current email on file. "We need approval from your coordinator," they said. "Or from the grantor." Grantor is Granddad. I didn't call. Granddad that night. He was still in my head. The person who taught me how to check oil and promised I wouldn't need to break my back as much as he had. I wasn't ready to tell him that the people in between had built a toll booth with my name on it. So I did what I always do when I need to be brave later. I collected proof. I requested statements. I pulled my credit report. I checked every old inbox I could log into. I found threads. So many threads. Routing updated. Glad it's streamlined now. Household wins. Messages from the coordinator cheerfully confirming changes I never saw with a CC to Mom and Sabrina. Never to me. My name was in the subject lines like a sticker on a box I didn't get to open. At the same time, Sabrina's life on the internet looked like the allowance was working brilliantly. New laptop, new phone, a trip where the tag said equal work trip, but the photo said pool day, a post about honoring the grind with a bag that cost a month of my rent. I stopped looking because I don't hate my sister, and I was starting to. Then the dinner happened. Granddad's hug. The sentence that landed like, it came with an invoice. Hope you're enjoying your $7,000 a month allowance. The room went quiet around my answer. I showed him the statement with the masked account. His mouth went thin. After a few terrible bites of not dinner, my phone lit up with the bank's number. The voice said, "We're calling to verify a beneficiary. Change and an outbound wire request on your family account. It's marked urgent." I asked who. She said Sabrina's LLC, a name I recognized from her invoices and a tote bag. Here's the other piece nobody knew. My allowance wasn't the only thing. Granddad set up. There was a maturity clause. On my 30th birthday last Tuesday, the principal of my portion became eligible for a one-time distribution if I requested it in writing. I hadn't requested it. Someone else had. So when Lydia from the bank said, "Do you authorize a wire for $250,000 to Sabrina's social LLC?" I said, "No." And then I said, "Freeze everything tied to my SSN pending in-house fraud review." And then I looked up from the phone at my family, who had started a conversation about pie, and thought, if I keep treating this like weather, I will drown. Granddad called a quick family meeting in his library like this was a sitcom, and not a slow-motion crash. Books, leather chairs, a fireplace nobody likes. Mom sat with her arms crossed. Sabrina checked her phone with the volume up, so every buzz landed. I stood because sitting makes me feel like I'm smaller than my sentence. Granddad held the statements I printed. This says, he tapped that every monthly distribution listed as O King has gone to an account ending in 41.87 since March 2019. Administrative simplification. Mom said like she was testifying before a committee. We used a household account. Everything was shared. I wasn't. I said you were. She said you just didn't notice because you were so busy. Sabrina jumped in and I kept receipts. She said rent when I was starting equipment flights to conferences. It wasn't like I bought shoes. She was wearing shoes I've seen on the internet for the price of a motorcycle payment. Granddad turned to me. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because of 1,000 small reasons that looked silly out loud. Because I thought it would make me look greedy. Because Mom made my mouth feel like a courtroom, where I was always about to be held in contempt. Because I didn't want to be the problem. Because I was busy trying to survive. I didn't know. I said, not really until I did. He nodded once like a judge who already knows the verdict. He turned to Lydia's number on his phone and put it on speaker. We need to cancel any beneficiary change requests and reverse any unauthorized wires, he said. Effective now. Lydia was efficient. We've placed a temporary hold on the outbound. We'll need written confirmation from the grantor and the beneficiary. We'll also need to verify coordinator permissions. Mom sat forward. Don't be theatrical. This is family. This is money, he said. And money makes most families worse. Sabrina's smile cracked. You're going to humiliate me over a misunderstanding? You've been undermining your brother in installments for 5 years, he said, not raising his voice. Mom tried one last angle. Owen never asked for help. He's stubborn. I looked at Granddad. Then I looked at my sister. Then I looked at my mother, who taught me to keep receipts like their prayers. I'm not asking, I said. I'm setting a boundary. Sabrina rolled her eyes. Oh my God. Therapy words, grown-up words, I said. Here are the simple ones. No more using my name. No more touching my money. No more rooting. No more household unless I live in it. Granddad nodded slowly like a metronome. Sabrina, you'll repay every monthly amount diverted from Owen's share, he said. And you'll send him a written accounting of what you spent. We'll decide if any of it counts as family expenses. Spoiler, it doesn't. He turned to Mom. You are removed as coordinator. Effective immediately. Mom went white like paint. You don't mean that? I do, he said. You forgot what the money was for. And what was it for? she snapped. For runway, he said, not for spectacle. Sabrina's voice got sharp. This is revenge, not fairness. I shook my head. This isn't about revenge. This is about closure. The sentence sounded like a lock clicking. My hand stopped shaking. Granddad looked at me. Do you want the monthly still? He asked. Or the principal distribution, or both paused until you decide. Pause, I said. I want to think like a person who isn't drowning. The room rearranged itself. Mom stood and left without slamming the door, because she knows Granddad hates that, Sabrina. Sent 3 frantic texts to someone. Probably the person waiting for the wire that wasn't coming. Granddad put his hand on my shoulder the way he does before he tightens a bolt. We'll make it right, he said. Not pretty. Right. Pretty has been our problem, I said. He smiled with half his mouth. There you are. The first 48 hours were loud. My phone was a metronome. Mom, you humiliated your sister in front of your grandfather. Sabrina, you could have come to me first. Mom, again, he's old. He doesn't understand how money moves now. Sabrina, you're ruining my business. Unknown number. We'd like to confirm cancellation of wire to Sabrina's Social LLC. Aunt Ruth, I always said your mother was too generous with her money. Cousin Mark, good for you. Don't tell anyone I said that. I muted everyone except Granddad, my boss, and the East Day warehouse crew chat where we post pictures of cursed pallets. I took a long shower that did not make the math disappear. I put on the good socks. I went to work. The toilets in Building C were angry. Toilets do not care about legacies. It was a relief. At lunch, I met with a lawyer a friend recommended. Her name was Priya. She spoke in bullet points. I gave her a stack. Statements, emails, the bank's call log, the screenshot of Sabrina's LLC, the household account note with my name, as if that made it legal. This is simple and not, she said, flipping pages. Legally, identity misuse, unauthorized transfer, breach of grantor intent. Practically, family, I don't want a court, I said. I want a wall. We can build one, she said. A demand letter to repay, diverted funds into your account, a new trust administrator, fraud alerts, and a directive to the foundation. No coordinator except you and the grantor. Also, passwords. Change them everywhere. I did everything she said. New email, new bank. Credit freeze so aggressive, it probably locked my high school yearbook. I took my name off Mom's streaming services that I'd somehow ended up paying for since 2020. I canceled an old card that kept getting charged for household Amazon, because sometimes closure is freeing your wallet from a future you didn't sign. Granddad hired a forensic accountant, which is a person whose job is to be the word receipt in a suit. He sent us a spreadsheet that would make a saint swear. Every month since March 2019, $7,000 listed under O-King routed to X410087. Notes, brand expenses, travel, office. Total. I had to sit down. I will not write the number here, because the number is a character in this story, and I don't want to give it more lines. Sabrina sent me an email with a PDF titled Aotionment. It was 4 pages of justification. We paid Mom's HOA when she was short. We invested in my business, which benefits the family. Owen never asked. The last line, let's be adults, and not make this ugly. I forwarded it to Priya. She wrote back, we're adults, that's why it's in writing. Then she sent Sabrina and Mom a letter, with words like misappropriation, restitution, fiduciary duty, and my new favorite, cease. It was not rude. It was a wall, with a door labeled pay. I braced for the storm. It came from the usual direction. Mom, you're taking food out of your sister's mouth. Me, she's been feeding from my plate for 5 years. Mom, you're ungrateful. Me, for what? Mom, for the family. We gave you. Me, the family I gave you. Read. No reply. Sabrina tried a different tack. Let's talk without lawyers. We met at a coffee shop that sold drinks with extra adjectives. She wore a white blazer and sunglasses indoors and looked like a person who does not like bad lighting. She started with tears. I didn't steal, she said. I allocated. You stole, I said, calm. You don't understand how building something works. She said, you should be proud. I put our name out there. Our name. I said, you mean my name? She wiped her eyes and switched to fury like a singer changing keys. You love being a victim, she said. You could have asked for rent money any time. I didn't want rent money, I said. I wanted my money. You're so small, she said. Maybe, I said, but small pays its own bills. She stood. This is a battle, she said. No, I said, this is accounting. Granddad called that night. He sounded old in a way I'm not used to. I should have watched it closer, he said. I thought I was helping. Instead, I lit a match and walked away. You were helping, I said. It just got repurposed. Your mother's out as coordinator, he said again, like he was reminding himself. I'm putting a professional in place. If you want, monthly, it'll go straight to you. If you want the principal, we'll do it by the book. If you want neither, I won't be offended. I want a fence, I said. Then I want to think. Good. He said, because the only time money is evil is when it's a secret. The following week was a bumpy road that stopped bumping only because we pulled over. Sabrina's wire never went through. She posted a black and white story that said, "Some people don't like to see you win." Her followers sent her affirmations. She went live crying about family betrayal. I didn't watch. A cousin sent me a screen recording with the caption, LOL. I ignored it. Mom tried one last grand gesture, a family summit at her house with a pot roast that tasted like the nines. I brought Priyo on Zoom. Mom didn't like that, but she kept it moving because she likes to host. Priyo went over the numbers. We're asking for repayment of diverted monthly distributions to Owen's account. 30 days, she said. We're not asking for punitive damages. We're not filing a police report. We're not going to court if you comply. Sabrina laughed without humor. You can't squeeze blood from a stone, she said. Priya didn't blink. Good thing we're squeezing it from money. Mom tried tears. You're his sister, she told me, as if I didn't know. I know, I said. That's why I'm not pressing charges. That's why I'm asking for a plan. That's why this isn't a scene, it's a line. We left with nothing signed, and everything different. Anyway, 2 days later, a transfer hit my new account labeled partial restitution. It was from Granddad, not Sabrina. He texted, "She'll repay me. You're not my bill collector. You're my grandson." I cried on my kitchen floor for 10 minutes into a towel, like a person in a movie who finally lets go of their jaw. Work got easier because I wasn't carrying 2 jobs in my head. I still had 3 jobs on paper, but the weight shifted. I said no to an extra shift, and my boss didn't fire me. I bought new boots because my old ones made my feet ache. I took a breath, and it didn't have numbers in it. There were still late-night texts. There were still group chat hurricanes. There were still relatives who thought gossip was a sport. But there was also a locker in my brain that had a door now. It said, "Mine. It's been 5 weeks. The professional administrator is in place. Emails come to me with my name on them and mean me. The monthly isn't automatic. I asked Granddad to pause it while I decide what kind of person I am when I'm not hustling to stand still. The principal sits where it's supposed to, behind a process, not under his sister's cursor. Sabrina and I exchanged necessary texts about Mom and holidays. Sometimes she fires a flare. You made me look bad, and I don't look at it. Mom sends me sunsets and articles about forgiveness like coupons. I heart them. I don't click. I wrote 5 lines and taped them inside my kitchen cabinet where the coffee lives. I don't send money I can't afford never to see again.